You need to rotate this face us, so can you go in there and rotate it out the other way? So the next thing I'm going to do is, there's 2 bolts here. These are the slide pin bolts for the caliper. There's 2 bolts right here. This one and that one. So I'm going to remove this one first and then attach it there. So you can see there's a spring right here. I'm just going to attach these things here, so I can hold the caliper up. See? Just back out a little. Yeah.
Well, the lighting was
right there. See? And then I can just pull these brake pads out. What's that? One old one. And yeah, you can see here these are the old shims, and the brake pads you got, we're going to have to reuse these old shims. Shim right there. You're actually in the brake container there. And the other side, you can see this side has a 2-piece shim. I think I need a new glove. Shim design, and you can tell which side goes where, because if you look at the shape. If you look at the shape here, the piston is only on one side. It's only here. So you know this shape right here, which doesn't look very round on the bottom. That's this part right here where it's open. You know, so that's how you know which assembly goes on which side of which pad. And also, the looks like it broke off on here, but the anti-squeal usually goes, there's like a little tab that sticks up that goes on the top on this side here. I'll show you later. Yeah. We're going to push in the piston now, because when we put the new brake pads in, we have to make room for them, so this piston has to get pushed back in so it's flush with the rest of the caliper assembly here. And if you look up here, what we've done is, you have to, before you do any of this, you have to unscrew the brake cap and make sure you clean the area around it first. And then what's going to happen is, most likely, if it's been topped off since the last brake job, the brake fluid will tend to come out and it will damage paint. And what we've done in this case is just surround the area with some paper towels in an effort to absorb that spill, because we don't really have any other efficient means at this time of siphoning that fluid out. So this is what we're doing. So it's really important when you do this that the piston gets pushed in straight in, not at an angle. Like if you were just to push here, it would start going in, but it would go at an angle and it could scuff the bore inside the caliper. And a lot of times I see people using just a brake pad over the piston and push it in that way. What I like to do is, because these pistons, they have a flat area inside, I stick the C-clamp right in there in the center. As long as it's in the center and the other end is on this bolt right here, you just start screwing this thing in, and you just make sure that everything's centered so it goes in straight. And then you just start slowly compressing the piston in, and you'll see it move. And you can check in your brake fluid regularly to make sure it's not spilling out or anything like that if you haven't taken precautions for that. And also keep in mind the brake line should be as close to the natural position as you can get it, so that there's no resistance from the brake line, otherwise you could rupture the brake line. And you can see here I'm pushing in the piston. It's getting more and more in there.
You put the one in the bottom while you were unscrewing the top?
Yeah, so initially I did that because if I was trying to unscrew this one and there's nothing here, this part would just fly up.
Yep.
So it made it easier. Okay, now I just take this whole assembly and stick it in here. And then we just push it back. It's out of the way. And next I'm going to remove these pieces here.
Cut. Bye. You can edit that part out.
Oh, maybe. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the rotor. Surface here, we're going to clean this before putting a new rotor on. I'm going to go ahead and start doing that now.
And I'm going to clean these pieces. There we go.
Okay. So normally you'd want to get new shims before putting new pads on, and a lot of times like posi quiet brake pads will come with new shims, but in this case we have to reuse the old shims because we don't have other ones to use. So I'm just going to clean off all the grime and grit off them and get them nice and clean and dry them off, and then we'll put new brake grease on. Now I gotta put this thing on. It's called the torque member, and this has the slide pins in it. We have to clean the old grease off and put new grease on.
But someone to be careful about which one they put back.
Well, if they're taking off one at a time, like I am right now, then it won't really matter. But this one is supposed to go, this one here with the rubber stuff, that's the one that goes on.
Hold on, wait, put up to the camera?
Yeah.
Hold on.
This rubber one, it goes on the top one. So I think it's all like that, and the rubber one's on the top. The one that's on the bottom doesn't have a rubber gasket like this.
Okay.
And the purpose of this is if water gets into the system, this helps prevent seizing. That's why they have these on here. Okay. Alright, now the going to reinstall the caliper and then the brake pads. Or if we could do brake pads first, maybe it'll be a little easier.
We can see it easier.
Alright. So one thing we didn't do yet is wipe off the surface of the caliper. I usually like to do that. This is the inside pad, and this is the outside pad. And so the inside pad is going to have the caliper pressing down on it. So this is the one that goes over here, and this goes underneath it, like that. And this is the outboard pad right here.
And that's that hook you were talking about, the squeaker
yeah,
before.
This is kind of what provides the anti. It's kind of like when your brake pad gets low, this is what rubs on the rotor to make the squealing noise, to let you know that, you know,
you probably should get.
You can see how how closely, when the pad material is worn down, it'll start making the noise. See the amount of distance there? Looks like about 2 millimeters, maybe 1 millimeter, 1.5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to apply brake grease to quiet brake pads, and that grease is applied on between these shims here. So I'm just going to apply directly to the shim. I don't like to put it on the directly on the back of the pad, because then you end up covering places that don't necessarily need grease, and I just like to avoid that for, you know, cleaner installation. And then this part here. There's the other one.
Ziploc trap.
Don't forget this thing here. I'll remove this.